Hi, hello everyone. Welcome to another special live event that we host here at EvenSkyn. This is Qendresa, and I am super thrilled to be hosting another live event together with Vanessa. And we have been chatting with Vanessa for a while. She has been testing a few of our devices, both EvenSkyn Venus and the EvenSkyn Lumo, and she has been on quite a journey herself, sharing her content regarding her aging process. She has been advocating for such a long time about natural aging. So when we started chatting with her a few years ago, it was super empowering to listen to her and listen more about her journey that she had with skincare devices, with her skincare routine, and how she has embraced the natural aging process, and she has been advocating ever since. She let her hair go fully gray, and she even calls herself the gray influencer or gray hair influencer because she has been talking so much on this regard. And we have invited Vanessa, who is also known on her Instagram account as the Silver Liberation, because like we're liberating ourselves and just like in this world where we glorify usually the youth and the beautiful and all the models that we usually see on all over social media, we're here to kind of change the narrative of that. So I'm gonna let and invite Vanessa to be joining here. Let me know, Vanessa, if you are. Be waiting for more people to join here. And overall, this is just an insight that we're getting from influencers, and especially since they have been testing different ranges of technologies when it comes to devices, but also they usually go through different processes while advocating for specific topics. So for Vanessa, we have been hearing lots from her. Let me know, Vanessa, if you can join here. I'm sending you the invite. Yeah. If you have any issue, let me know. Sometimes. All right, I'm sending the invite to you. So guys, for anyone who is in the process of learning, where should I get started in terms of skincare? What am I able to do in order to kind of go fully gray? And Vanessa will be here to share more from her experience. It says you're unable to join. Let me invite you for a second. Vanessa, I am sending the invite over to you. Let me know if you can accept. So for anyone joining here, this is Qendresa. We're hosting a live event with Vanessa, who's also known as Silver Liberation. I am accepting the invite. Sometimes it just takes a while until we get it right and for you to be able to join. So we're going to be talking about the journey, as Vanessa has been in a journey herself, sharing her content and usually doing so much work in trying to empower women in their aging process. I just sent you another invite. It just says that you're unable to join for a second. Hi. Can you hear? Can you hear?
Can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly fine.
Trying to get the lighting right. It's a little dark in here, but the sun is like 5 minutes away, and then it'll be right on my face.
Oh, but you're glowing. You're beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining. Such a pleasure to have you here.
I'm so excited. I love talking all things gray hair, skincare. I am like mad crazy about, and obviously I'm really settling into the aging process. So I'm loving talking anything pro-aging.
Yeah, and we're gonna try to do our best to not mention the word anti-aging, even though it has been integrated in our vocabulary as we're talking about skincare and we're talking about beauty, but we are pro-aging and we're trying to change the narrative of those glory that we usually have about youth and beauty and all of that. We loved what we have seen you do with Instagram and everything, that the way you're promoting aging, the way you're talking about going fully gray, and the way you're embracing all of this process is just amazing. So first of all, thank you so much for doing that. And I'm gonna open the space here for everybody to ask a question. What we're talking here, it has to do with beauty devices, with skincare. We're talking about this process of aging. So yeah, thank you so much for being here.
You're how old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm in my mid-20s.
You're mid-20s. Yeah, so you are just a pup. You're going to learn so much today that's going to help your journey to be so much easier. You know, it's funny because you mentioned the anti-aging, and I understand why many women are put off by that, and I get it, and I totally understand, like, that word anti means like it's bad to age, but I think I understand enough about it that it doesn't trip me up. The word doesn't trip me up so much, but I can also understand that for really to change the narrative, you know, we really do, the pro-aging does sound a whole lot better.
Yes, it does. And we're gonna try to use the pro-aging word as much as we can, even though it's gonna be everywhere, the anti-aging word. But what we're talking here, it's about going in this process as a natural thing, because we're doing so much to our skin, we're putting so much pressure on ourselves. Do this, do that, so you don't show wrinkles, you color your hair. It's fine to color your hair, but if you want to go and have your full natural hair, please do that, and you don't have to feel embarrassed. So tell us about your journey into going fully gray and actually sharing that on your social media accounts.
Okay, so it started in September. It was September 26th, 2019 was the last day that I ditched the dye. But here's what happened. I had been struggling. I've had gray hair. I think my first gray hair was 16 or 17 years old. And I have been struggling to cover the grays, you know, for decades, because to me, I bought into the society's standards, that gray hair meant you were old, unattractive, washed up, not lovable, not pretty, all of the knots, all the, you know, the things that I didn't want to be, because, and that to me, you know, especially the unlovable part was huge.
Yeah.
Because for me, I've realized every single thing I've done, be it good or bad, has been in the search for love.
Yeah.
So imagine that this outer appearance, you know, gray being included, was just something that I had disdain for. So I wanted to cover it up. Anyway, I get to 2019, and this is about 6 months before it hit, and I go visit my daughter in Germany. She's living in Berlin, my oldest daughter, and, you know, I'm growing out a pixie cut. I've had a pixie cut for over 10 years, which was even worse when you got gray hair. My hair grows really fast, and it's like chasing the roots. So I'm talking to my daughter, and she says, what are you going to do with your hair? And I said, I don't know. I'm just kind of growing it out. I don't know what the style. I said, I got to figure out something to do with these darn grays.
Yeah.
And she said her husband, Fabi, he can't wait till I have gray hair. He thinks it's so sexy. And she's, at the time she was like 30, and, so she's young, and he had no one in his family bloodline at all. None of them had gray hair. And I thought, well, that's interesting, but that's not going to be me. And, she's also very, like no Botox, no, she's kind of adopted. I say she's kind of adopted that European kind of way of thinking in many ways, but that was not her mom. That was not me. I said, okay, that's great. So I come back home. I call my hairdresser because it had been a couple of months since I'd got my trim. I said, okay, I'm coming in for my trim to grow out the hair. I said, but I got to do something. If I could just figure out what to do with these darn grays. And, I'm texting him on the phone. He didn't respond. And then I don't know what happened. Like out of body, it says, I immediately typed, or F it, I could just go gray. And my hairdresser guy, who's Brandon, who's amazing. He's so cool. He says, add a girl. And then I immediately put down the phone, opened up my laptop, and I started Googling beautiful women with gray hair, models with gray hair, older women with gray hair, younger women with gray hair, beautiful gray hair, all the things, again, all those words, because I needed validation that what I was about to do, which I don't even know where this came from, because 5 minutes before, it would have never, ever, ever, I was going to dye with my hair. I was going to have someone who could dye my hair for me when I couldn't do it myself. That's like what I got too old to. That's how it had the hold. But lo and behold, I saw the most beautiful women. They just started popping up. And I thought, where have these women been? And then immediately I got back on my phone and said 4 minutes later, 5 minutes later, it's done. I'm going gray. I still get chills thinking about it because it was so not my vocabulary, not my thinking, not my anything. And I had, at that point, it was so visceral, this calming peace come over me like I have never experienced. You know, I think one other time, I had one other experience in my life that's had that kind of feeling. I recognize that feeling. It was freedom. It was freedom.
Yeah.
So that was the first decision.
Yeah.
Now to tell you how it came to be as an accidental gray hair influencer.
Please do, because you were searching for gray models. You were searching for beautiful gray young. What you were typing, you were looking for people to inspire you to make that decision, to kind of validate that. So you were looking for that. So I'm guessing there was some connection. You were like, okay, I'm gonna be this person for others. Or how was your story?
Honestly, I just needed, I mean, this is my story, my truth. I just needed one pretty girl with gray hair to be in that thing to give me validation. You know, it's not about, you know, please don't judge me. That was what I needed. And I saw it. I saw there were beautiful women, and I have since come, I mean, I've grown so much during this experience that there is so much beauty in like the 90-year-old woman with gray hair that has, you know, wrinkles from head to toe. All is so beautiful. Like I have, what I believe is beautiful now and what I believed was beautiful then has drastically evolved in a beautiful way. But I knew this was going to be big. I knew the moment I said I was going to not color my hair anymore was the moment that it was going to be so much more than gray hair. It was going to be a renegotiation about every single thing I ever thought and believed about beauty and about aging. And I also knew, being a writer, because I've written some books, I knew that I had to share this journey. I'm like, okay, I'm going to write a book. I said, which I haven't finished yet. I have that darn book in my laptop. I'm going to write a book. And so therefore, I'm going to start an Instagram page that will showcase selfies, which I would, you know, normally never post selfies, of my roots growing, which is horrifying to think because that's everything I chased away. But I knew to get comfortable with it and have this experience, I was going to open a page, you know, and journal the journey on. I also knew that gray hair at that time, it wasn't sexy. I was on a mission. This was also, in the beginning, I was on a mission to make gray hair fabulous. It was going to be, I like, it was going to be sexy. It was going to be fabulous. So I needed a name. I needed a handle that was so fabulous. And silver.
Yeah.
Silver sounded sexier than gray. And liberation, I knew, because I didn't want it to be, because not only did I not want it to be, I knew it would not be something that was just about hair. Liberating ourselves from everything that no longer serves us.
Yeah.
Everything. And that when that came, I mean, I made a long list. It took me a couple of days. When silver liberation, it just was like hit the heart.
It sounded right, and it still sounds right.
So it was big and bold and beautiful and all encompassing. You know, with I knew that once you shed that layer, then the next layer, you know, the pro-aging, all, you name it, you know, bad relationships or bad habits, letting go of any of that, there's a freedom that comes with it. So I did this and found this community, and it just grew and grew. And then of course COVID hit, Now, I like to say I made gray sexy before it was COVID, before COVID did, although there were women, plenty of women before me. But, you know, it was kind of a ripe time for women, especially being that, you know, with everything shut down and couldn't go to hairdressers, there were a lot more that were jumping on board. I just could not believe, I could believe it, but yet I still pinched myself. Every day, from the beginning, I was getting private messages and even emails saying, you know, I'm afraid to do it. You're giving me hope. You know, how do I do it? What do I do? You know, all the things. And I was only 1 or 2 steps ahead of them.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
but
What were some of the challenges after you decided to go fully gray? The process of like just letting your hair grow. What are the challenges, and what were other women facing when they were messaging you? Because I know some of the people here listening to this probably are in the same page. They're like, okay, I want to do it. Look at her, she's looking amazing. I want to do something like this. What are some of the challenges that you need to be aware before making that decision? Because it sounds so like from your end, it sounds super confident. Like it sounds empowering. It sounds inspiring. But I want to know, like, trying to be realistic for so many people that are going to be here that probably haven't had the chance to go to your account and see your content. Because I swear, when you check Vanessa's content, you're like, oh my God, I want to have gray hair right now. That's how I feel, because like you have such a positive approach and you just show all angles. You're talking about food, you're talking about fashion, you're talking about skincare, you're talking about devices, you're talking about so many things. It's not just about the hair, but just focusing on this part, I want to know, what are some of the challenges that other people need to be aware of?
Well, I do know that every journey is different. You know, we call it the gray hair journey. Every single, so not to discount anything that is a challenge for someone, because what is a challenge for me may very well be nothing for someone else, but then someone else has that challenge. I think the biggest, the most heartbreaking thing that I heard from women, and in the beginning there was, I'm talking dozens, if not 100 messages that had to do with a spouse who was unsupportive and would say negative things. And that broke my heart, because to me, I mean, yeah, that was probably the toughest thing for me to see. And I went into this single. So of course there was that whole, you know, and I'm so desperately seeking in a not, you know, in a lovingly way to have a loving relationship. And I thought maybe I'll never find someone, or, you know, during that process. So I didn't have a partner for support or to have the negative aspect. So I think women were having and so I think the biggest thing that came up from that is I knew, and I know this to be true with anything we're changing. And I know this when I was health coaching and teaching people to change how their diet and their lifestyle, is that you cannot do this, whatever this is, for anyone else but yourself.
100%.
Yes, is it lovely to have support? Absolutely. You know, it makes it so much easier and more joyful. But if you're doing it only because or in spite of, those generally are the experiences that don't turn out so well, or they struggle, or they just throw in the towel. And again, that's whether you're doing the hair, changing your diet, your lifestyle, stopping drinking, whatever the thing is, it has to be. So I say that's the first thing, is you got to get right with yourself. And here's the next thing. The next thing is, I was the poster child of someone who would never go gray. So I understand that, you know, it sounds like, oh, Vanessa's so confident. I am confident in this, but I don't know how I got that prior to, because it was so much of a no-no for me. But I didn't let fear. I knew that in here I wanted it. We're all going to have fear, and that first step, that is the toughest. So I got to push past the fear. I know, like I said, and this is what I love, is that when we push past the fear and we take a deep breath and exhale it out, the joyful experience is there to be had. When we let go, the fear is there. What are people going to think? I'm going to be judged. They're going to be saying, oh, I'm going to look awful. All the stories we tell in our head will be there. But when we can just get in peace and say, I don't know what it's going to be. I'm just going to be at peace with it. Take one day. It makes the experience, you know, from awful to, you know, with a curiosity of mind, and curious of mind of like, you know, what is it going to look? Because guess what? We're judging. Here's the thing. Most people think, oh, we get this. We Silver sisters, many of us get this all the time. You know, your gray hair is gorgeous, but mine would be awful. Mine looks terrible, because they judged it by this, like, you know, half an inch of gray that we all thought that. And I say, we all have that beautiful, if you've got gray hair, a beautiful, unique silver crown waiting, but you will never know in that little bit. You'll never know. Like, I never knew that I was this dark haired, like darkest of dark brown, that I was like, I'm going to be the sexy dark one, never the blonde, although I did have a 6-week blonde stint once trying to deal with the gray, and that fried my hair. So it was awful, which leads me to how you can do it. I chose, because of knowing two things. A, I knew that I tried that 6-week blonde and it fried my hair like cotton candy, fried, awful. So dyeing it was not going to be an option. But I also, for my journey, and I strongly suggest this one, although there are millions of ways to do it, the slow grow out, which means you watch that gray like you're watching, you know, grass grow. Yeah. And what it forces you to do, and this is why I think it's so beautiful, what it forces you to do is to get comfortable looking in the mirror, seeing that every day. And I was looking in the mirror like 100 times a day. When you first start growing gray, you're like, is it you grow? You're looking. It forces you to get comfortable. And that's where the renegotiation, to me, it's like a butterfly. It's like a metamorphosis. That's how it's totally felt, is being able to see that. I remember about 6 weeks into the process, I looked into the mirror and I'm sitting at my vanity, and I look and I look and I say, I love you. And why this chokes me up, because I had so much disdain, for my gray hair. The moment, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
Okay, so
no, take a breath, because this is super special. The story you're sharing here, it's just so inspiring for so many other women out there to just like go through this process in a way more confident, because the result and the journey you have been through, you made it much easier for the people next. I mean, years ago, I wouldn't think I would ever go gray the same, even though I'm way super young in this process. But I feel more confident that when it's gonna happen, I'm just gonna feel, I'm gonna look to people up to people like you and other influencers, the silver community, which I didn't know, like, because now people are talking more the way you're doing, the other sisters are doing. It's amazing, because it's making it easier for people like me and many more. So yeah, please.
So I mean, the reason it chokes me up is because it wasn't about the gray hair. It was about self-acceptance. It was acceptance of the gray hair, but it touches me and at my core, because it's also something that I've been working on. I will continue to work on. It is like layers of an onion that you're peeling, finding your way back home to you. And so at that moment, when I started saying, I love you, it was transformational. It changed everything. And so I made it a point at that point to every time I look in the mirror, I'd say, you're beautiful. You are gorgeous. I love you. And it totally, even saying that, my vibration just kind of lifts. It changed the journey that much more joyful. So I chose to do the slow grow so that I could see it, I could renegotiate, I could learn, I could grow with the process. There is no wrong way or right way. Some people shave it off, cut it off, bleach it, highlight it. All of those are beautiful options. You just have to find what's right for you. And for me, I wanted the most bang for my buck with transformation. And for me, it was the slow grow out. And I am forever grateful. I miss it. It's funny looking back now, most of us will say that, especially the dark haired ones that, you know, we had really dark hair. So it really showed the difference, the gombre. there are, you know, that I look back and I'm like, oh, I miss those days of like the ombre. It was just like a badge of honor. It was really a badge of honor. And the other thing that I think is important for women, my suggestion during the process is, I also, and again, this is just what I needed to just get comfortable as fast as possible, but you can use hair clips, which I'm a fan of, phony ponies, of hats. Some people use like a cover up, kind of a powder if you felt uncomfortable, but I made a choice, or scarves. There are so many beautiful choices. But again, for me, the quickest way I could get to the other side of feeling comfortable and confident is I made a choice that I was never going to do any of those things, at least in the beginning. If I wore a hat, it was because it was cold, not to cover it up.
Mm-hmm.
And so like the first big event that I went to out, you know, was probably within 6 weeks or 4 weeks. And that's at your worst. That's when everyone says, she needs to get her hair done. You know, when they don't. And I went to a function at my daughter's school, and it was funny because that was the one and only time that I did do it a couple other times, but this was on purpose. I was going there purposely with nothing on my hair so I could be comfortable, although it was not comfortable. And what I did was I talk a lot anyway. I'm a talker, and I made it a point to tell everybody, anyone that had me, you know, I was like, before they could say something, I wanted to say something like, oh, I'm doing this. And then I got home, and it's a good practice. You know, we have to do what we have to do. And I thought, okay, Vanessa, you know, you made it through your first event without, you know, showing the roots. But next time, if the point is to get comfortable, that also means zip it, go out and get uncomfortable with because then the next thing is you're thinking, are they judging me? Are they looking at me? Are they, you know, all the stuff. Most of the time people aren't even looking. They don't even, they really care so much less about us than we really think.
Exactly.
You know, but I got comfortable. And then after that, it was, like I said, I wore it like a badge of honor. And then it was crazy, because then when you're just living your life and you're being comfortable in it, you are a magnet. You are a magnet to the, you know, oh, yeah, I love your gray hair. I mean, all the comments are coming out from women, from men. Don't even let them tell you like that, oh, I thought you won't be attractive. Men, there is a whole subcategory of men that love women with gray hair. Let me just tell you, that are like that. So ladies, this is gray hair is a, you know, it is a beautifier. Doesn't take away from the beauty, it adds to it. And I think too, because the comments I get from men is interesting, is they say, it's so sexy, it's so beautiful, it's so gorgeous that you're comfortable in your own skin to where you're, I got men that are saying this. It's beautiful. Because it's really beautiful.
You are all the time radiating that positivity. And I was so impressed when you're like, the first event you went there, it's like you were pushing yourself to be there. You were pushing yourself in the most uncomfortable position, where we would have asked you years ago, you would be like, no, I'm not going to do you were saying like, I'm never going to go gray. I'm never going to go silver. But you went there, and then even because right now you're like, your full hair is like beautiful, long, you're just glowing. But in the beginning, I guess, like even right now when I have like dark roots, it's like, should I do something? Because it's just like this mid type of situation. You're like, you feel uncomfortable with that. You went there, you were talking about to all of the other parents and like everybody else.
All the women, when I was telling them, not one said, good for you, or, oh, that's great. None of them. They were just kind of like, they were kind of a little shocked, or like, I wouldn't do that. But there was nothing. They weren't like nasty. But you know, when people say nothing, they often say a lot.
Yeah.
You know, and also I, you know, I've been, you know, I have a band that I sing with from time to time in town. You know, I speak on stages. So it was, when I tell you, like, to go out with the roots, especially, you know, being a performer and all that, it was a big deal.
Yeah, I can imagine. But I also think that you also changed the narrative to the other people that were there, because after you kind of went full gray and you are radiating this positivity and inspiration, and you were talking, like you were telling, I love you, you're gorgeous, you were kind of attracting all of this positivity. I bet all these other people that were like, okay, look at her, she's so confident, and you don't have to go through the process of dyeing your hair all the time. You're like, you're liberated.
Most freeing thing. And you know what else? It honestly, now here's the thing. I believe people say, oh, gray hair will make you look older. there are a couple things with that. One is a good haircut is a good haircut, because there's people that have, you know, if you're, whether what color, you know, gray is a color, just like blonde or brunette or redhead or black. But, you know, if our hair looks a mess in brown, it's probably going to look kind of a mess in gray. You know, so first is have a nice haircut.
Yep.
Attitude obviously is so unbelievably important. But what I didn't realize, and I absolutely love, is I went from being the dark-haired raven, very, like, so dark. Now I look back, it looked like shoe polish. I mean, like, the last few years, I was like, who was that kid? And now I'm like, honestly, let's see the light. I feel like an angel. The radiant women with gray hair, they just have this radiance about them. It lightens up the face. So it is, again, another reason. It's a beautifier. It lightens. People say, oh, it washes you out. I don't believe so. I don't believe so. You know, I actually really haven't changed my makeup. I do love makeup. I also I've gotten confident enough, like and I've worked on my skin, which we'll talk about the skincare, better than I've had, you know, at 54, and I can feel comfortable without makeup. In fact, I almost didn't wear it today. I was like, do I wear makeup or not, just to show? But gray hair, again, it's as beautiful as you choose it to be. Exactly. And it doesn't mean you're giving up on, you know, like yourself. Like people say, oh, she'd let herself go. No, you've let go of crap that does not serve you anymore.
Exactly.
Take care of yourself, you know, and taking care of your hair. I have new challenges with my hair. It tends to be a lot more frizzy, a lot more dry. I found products now that I finally, after years of searching, trying to find the right thing, it's more fragile in the sense when you're using hot iron products, it can turn yellow. You can, you know, so there's new challenges to it. But overall, not chasing those roots is the most amazing. I mean, I was doing it every 3 days. Every 3 days I was coloring my, there were days I would color and I'd leave that color on at home for like 45 minutes to an hour longer than it's supposed to. And those suckers, they did not want to be covered up. They were like, my temples, never. And then the wind would blow, and you know, that's like a gray roots girl nightmare. The wind blows and it's showing your gray roots. Just, you know, just all that. I don't have to think about that anymore. And you don't realize, you know what, you don't realize how much of a struggle, a pain, your entire life, your vacations, your trips, all your events that you plan around that, you don't realize how much it takes a toll on you until you stop doing it. Yeah. And even now, there are like 4 years later where I'm like, wow, I really didn't realize how much that was taking a toll on me.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just and I think too that the covering up of things, like I said, I love hair color. I think it's an amazing option for us women. I think it's so awesome that you can color your hair. So it's not oh, you're bad if you color. I think it's fantastic. If it works for you, it's amazing. But I just love the idea that, you know, again, gray hair is a beautiful option. And when this is the thing. So when I was covering up, and I didn't really realize it until later, when I talk about kind of trying to do my best during the process to unravel all of beauty standards grip, the old antiquated views on beauty that I have adopted.
Yeah.
And the covering up, even though we wear makeup and that kind of like the highlight, you could say some to cover up, some to highlight, that the idea of constantly, let's cover the roots, cover the roots, cover the roots. For me, and I can't speak this for, you know, so my personal experience is that there is a part of me during that process that says, I don't want people to see this. So it's concealing, it's hiding.
Mm-hmm.
But it does, right? We know that. But I don't think that many people think about it so much until you start thinking about it. So I started dissecting it and realizing, wow, even though it's subconsciously, I know I'm going to go cover up the grays, but if I really unpacked that situation of every few days having to do it, it's like a monkey on your back, you know, so that to liberate yourself from that is also one step closer again to getting yourself back home to the natural. Yeah. And, you know, so that's my spiel on the,
thank you so much for sharing this. This is so inspiring. And I recently told to my mother-in-law, I was like, go full gray. I mean, you're going to look amazing, because she was dyeing her hair and we were talking about colors, and it's fine. Like, you can do your hair red, you can do your hair pink, purple, whatever. Like, you can experiment with your hair because it's your hair. You can do makeup and all that. as long as it's not a standard you need to keep up. Like, I'm gonna color my hair, I'm gonna do the makeup, I'm gonna do things to my hair and nails. Everything I do is because I'm trying to experiment something, I'm expressing something through myself. As long as you mentioned, it doesn't go like cover the roots, do this, you need to dye your hair all the time. Otherwise, then you're gonna be so tied into that process, you're not gonna be thinking about other things that you love to do and kind of expand and do other things, because all of this time you're doing stuff to yourself to kind of keep that standard that usually is also part of the communication on social media, which we see studies, we have read lots of research on how social media is affecting also in comparison to the beauty and all of that. So why I appreciate you and so many of those other women out there is because you're changing this narrative. You're talking about gray hair and you're advocating about this, and now I do understand even better why you have such positivity in your content, because like all the time you have this smiley face, you're talking about things which is so inspiring, and I wish there's going to be even more content, there's going to be an even bigger community around you and other people that share similar content, because I think that is super important, and it's so empowering for everybody else, as long as they kind of just don't stick to the idea that you have to be this youthful 20 years old type of standard, because that is super unrealistic, and people that have super high expectation which doesn't actually align with the reality. So it's definitely embracing this pro-aging process in the most beautiful and natural way possible. So
I think that you hit the nail on the head when you said that, the youthful, it's unrealistic. Again, I'm still, I still got 2 feet. Yeah, I'm trying to say 1 foot out, 1 foot in the, in the beauty standards. I want to look my best. It's not that I want to look like I'm 20. In fact, honestly, other than my backside, I think I look better. Other than I like that to be lifted a little more firm, I think I look better at 54 than I ever did in my 20s and my 30s. And it is the confidence. It's the, my diet, lifestyle, all of that comes into play. But the biggest component is this inner peace, that when you start peeling back the layers, when you start doing the work of letting go of those things, there is a beautiful joy of joie de vivre of life that is so unbelievably attractive and beautiful and it's like vivacious. It's youthful, it's like a youthful energy that can come. And so although I'm not chasing to be that young, I do want to look and feel my best. Now, I also know, like I do Botox, I do it twice a year. And at this point, I enjoy it. I like my Botox. When it becomes, although I'm doing my other thing, I have to tell you that I think the last time I got it was almost 9 months ago, which I was shocked. I've got a couple things we're going to talk about that have been really making that last even longer. And I just get it. You can kind of see my, like right there. And luckily I never had forehead lines, but kind of right there. And so I say age your way for sure. I love that there's modalities out there that we can use, whether that are invasive or not invasive. I think that's individual. My biggest message is age your way. And for the love of my God, that we don't tear women down, tear one another down. That if someone makes a choice to do nothing in the past and just to age exactly without having any type of intervention, even to not even deal with skincare, even at the kind of the lowest level of, that's okay. But it's also okay that, everyone, whatever you're doing it for, it's your own personal reasons.
Yeah.
That someone chooses to have, to have a surgery or to use injectables or to use at-home beauty devices or anything in between. Yeah. That, what I think what saddens me most about women that I see in the space on social media is the backbiting between the two camps. Or the women will say, oh yeah, you ditch the dye, but you're still using this. And I get accused all the time of having a facelift and having lip fillers, all the stuff that I don't have. And as do other silver sisters. They say, oh, like, if you're doing this, it's like, again, it's not like we stop wearing makeup or stop doing anything just because, unless we do that. So my point is, ladies, if you see someone, don't, the first thing, don't put your comment like, oh yeah, she's only pretty because of da 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 da. Guess what that says? That says nothing about me or nothing about you. It says everything about the person that's typing that, and it's sad.
Yes.
But
And
to be able to age, like I said, our way and whatever that means for you. And I can, I've tried to dissect this, and I can kind of understand that. I can understand. Let's say you're someone that's chosen to do no interventions at all, and when you're at peace, you'll never be judging anyone else. That's the other little missing piece. But let's say you're that person over there, and then say you're that kind of person that starts complaining and pointing out all these things. Again, it's because you're unhappy with yourself. Why would you care? Like, why does it make you so angry?
Yeah.
That this woman over here is doing it? We oftentimes will say, oh, you're doing it, you're not pro-aging because you're doing this. Again, ultimately, when you are happy with yourself, you are not backbiting, you are not, tearing other people down. Yeah. So anyway, a lot more of that and lifting one another up, because beauty comes in all shapes and sizes, and and interventions or not interventions. And I think it's beautiful that we have the choices, but let's stop the negative exactly. Talk.
And usually when someone is commenting something negative, it's coming from their headspace and their emotional space. So usually it doesn't have to do with you personally. It is their personality and their struggles and their mindset that they have put. But usually it's become such a way of communication on social media that I'm glad that there's so much advocacy on mental health, and there's so much advocacy about empowerment and all of this. But still, there's so much naysayer, there's so much negativity around. But I think that with such community and with such talks, I think there is going to be even more education around. And the problem just doesn't go on social media. That is way deeper than just social media. It has to do with our families and where we grow up, and the schools and education overall. But I think that we need to kind of do the work individually, try to love ourselves. This way we're going to love the people that we have around. And if we are present in social media, let's try and do our best to share our positivity, which is something that I see a lot, way more than I used to see in the past. So that is such a positive aspect that I usually see on social media. And I could say that also after COVID, also because I even joined social media more after the COVID, and I joined more the anti-aging, pro-aging, skincare industry, and I was researching even heavily on the things that we can do to kind of have this beautiful, healthy, glowing process, aging process, that you don't have to actually look so wrinkly, as we're used to thinking that, okay, if you're 50, you're gonna look super wrinkly. If you're 60, you're gonna look like a very, very old, because that was kind of the image that we used to see in the past. Now I see 50, 60, 70 years old women, they're like looking amazing. And when we're talking about the things they're doing, they're just choosing natural lifestyle, healthy lifestyle, I could say, and natural ways to treat their skin. It doesn't always need to be invasive. It doesn't always need to be Botox and fillers. This is what usually people think, that you have to do Botox in order to look beautiful. No, there are many ways that you can go on this process.
Yeah, I say I am 54, and I started really taking care of my skin when I ditched the dye, in which was just a couple weeks before my 50th birthday. I made a conscious decision. What I did know is I said, okay, if you're going to go gray, you gotta really start taking care of this skin. And that's when I upped my skincare game. It's remarkable when you look at if you would go to the very beginning of my first Instagram post on my Silver Liberation, and you watch from that point, maybe 6 months later to now, you would think I had major stuff done to my skin, because I did. And here's what's interesting, because I started doing, I introduced tretinoin into my skincare, yeah. But I got diligent with at-home devices. And here's what's interesting is that I had a facialist that I had for like 19 years. And I would go about every 6 weeks, I would go and get a facial with her. And I never did anything, anything really invasive. I never had anything with downtime. It was just, you know, mostly like hydrofacials, things like that. And I always had lots of hyperpigmentation, dull skin, sallow skin. And I mean, I had nice skin but literally there was so much melasma from once menopause hit. Oh, my skin was the Sahara Desert, so dry. But it was interesting. I started doing a couple of at-home beauty devices. Then COVID hit and everything was shut down. And that's kind of when I really started doing everything at home. I have since then, I have not been to, I think I've done a couple of, maybe one or two facials, a couple of appointments for facial, you know, treatment since COVID. I have done everything with my at-home devices and skincare. And when I tell you, I mean, look at this.
Tell us, because you mentioned from the first post until now, you have seen drastic changes.
It is massive.
Yeah, tell us, because there are so many people that are like kind of hopeless in terms of like, am I going to see results with at-home ingredients, at-home skincare, at-home devices? Tell us, how was that process? What were you using? You mentioned Tret, and you were talking about.
So I started with because I do lots of research. I'm one of those girls. I study everything, and I researched that to start tretinoin, that you should first kind of do like an over-the-counter retinol to get your skin prepped. And I did, actually, Paula's Choice was the first one that was recommended. It was kind of like their 1%. I finished a whole bottle of that. I actually took that to Germany with me. So I have to, so in truth, I had started that before I had ditched, like 2 weeks before I ditched the dye. So I did that whole bottle. And then I had tried tretinoin, like maybe I was 35. I tried it one time. My doctor gave me a prescription and I had the peelies and I'm like, oh, this is awful. And I put it like, I don't want peely skin. Anyway, so I followed the directions that said like to do it like once a week, then, you know, twice a week, and then do the layering process where you put a little bit with your moisturizer and I had maybe a little peelies around that, but they call it the uglies. And that was it. Like I was off to the races. Super, super great. I became diligent with my sunscreen. Absolutely, you know, sunscreen, because it doesn't matter what you're doing with your melasma. It will, especially, I live in Las Vegas. I mean, the sun is intense. Heat, again, with menopause and melasma, even if you're not in the sun, but there's heat, it can bring out the melasma. It can just be awful. So I started doing that. I did was it muesli? I think it's called muesli. I did a muesli prescription for a little bit that had a spot remover, and you know, that seemed to work okay. Then I started doing, actually, timeless skincare was kind of my entry point of really being like, I'm going to be more diligent with my serums. So timeless skincare, I was using like a Matrixol, and I was doing before vitamin C, I'd probably done maybe 3 or 4 bottles in the last 30 years. That's it. Because my girl at the office, here's the thing, my girl at the office, and I love SkinCeuticals, don't get me wrong, it's a beautiful product. It's expensive. And I'm cheap with my skin and so I would use it, but it was like $100 and some for one bottle. I'm like, precious with it, and then not use it. So timeless skincare came and I loved it. It was effective. And then, you know, since then I also love Go Pure Beauty, has really affordable serums that I'll use. But the vitamin C was really helpful. Again, using the sunscreen was like a non-negotiable, but I learned how to layer and use different, and again, if you've got dry skin like me and you've done the menopause and your skin is like the Sahara Desert, serums are your best friend. Like layering, like you'll do 2 or 3. And let me show you. This is something I swear that has helped me to have, like I said, I told you, like Botox twice a year, and it's now been, this time it's been almost 9 months. It's because I've added in, and I was using another brand that was more expensive and I didn't notice anything. I noticed this makes a difference. The Ordinary, super inexpensive. This is the Argireline, which helps natural to relax wrinkles. The trick is, in the morning after I've washed my face and I put on a couple of different serums, I put on, where is it? I'll put on like a Dramatically Dewy serum or even my OG serum. So you put on a hyaluronic acid first. While it's still damp. Then you take your Argireline. I just take a little bit, and you're just the Argireline only goes in the areas where the wrinkles are. So you just dab a little here. While I've still got the trick is the hyaluronic acid, because that, the hyaluronic acid sucks in.
Yeah.
10 times the, it really, makes it penetrate. Take in the argireline and I tap around here and here, and I'll kind of for good measure. And then I get those little smoker lines, those little lip lines. Yeah. I tap that too, let that sit in. And then I will add like, another serum. I've got a drugstore. I just do all kinds of stuff to play with, but then I put on my moisturizer, then I put on my sunscreen. That's kind of the morning routine. And well, actually, but prior to that, I have a couple different devices. I use EvenSkyn Lumo, which I love. I use and I'll use that like twice a week. I was doing it 3 times a week. I do it twice a week now. Mm-hmm. Love the radio frequency. Yeah. And also what is it called? Is it the collagen activation? I love the one where it's warm and light, so lovely. I also use my first beauty device that I used was actually Nira, which is totally different. It's a laser device that I use around my eyes. Love. That was my first at-home device that I was using. And then I believe that EvenSkyn was probably my second or third that came into my. I've got a lot of them now, and it's interesting because I've got choice. I've been able to try just about everything. Ones that stay in the routine, it's good. I want to talk about why I love the EvenSkyn so much. But Venus, this is my favorite. This is your eye. Yeah. And it has red light and the blue light, and so I use this almost every day. Like that's just next to my serums, and because it cools it down, gives it the puffy, smooths.
Especially in the morning, it's just so amazing, so relaxing. It's like, ooh, you wake up.
It's so easy. This is I love this, easy to pop in. So I do that. So I do I always do the Nira. The Nira I've done every single day. I do that for 4 years, and I swear that definitely helped mitigate this game changer. And then again, like 2 times a week, I will do. I'm trying to think what else, because I have red light therapy that I absolutely red light therapy. But I also have, like I said, I'm a hardcore. I'm like, people say like, how do you have so much time? Well, that's the thing. First of all, you make the time for things that are important to you. But I am a master multitasker, which I'm not good at doing a lot of things multitasking. But with skincare, I have learned how to, listen to a podcast, to double duty while I am doing my routines. And then it makes it fits in. It totally fits in. And, I love that. So you've got the conductor gel, but you can use any kind of water-based, which I love that about EvenSkyn is that you don't have to, it's not like you only can use our gel, because that's a deterrent for a lot of people. I mean, but the device, I think out of all the devices I think what makes this so great is that it does everything. Like it has the radio frequency, it has the red light, what else it has, like the deep clean, which I don't do that. I need to do that more often. I don't use that one so much. And then it has like the skin pore. My daughters use the shrinkage, the cooling. Yeah. But I got to tell you, it's powerful. When you do like the radio frequency, I'm still on one like that. Like my skin will be woo. Yeah.
That is the combination of radio frequency with EMS. Yes. So that is gonna help with muscle toning. So you're gonna feel that. You're gonna feel your muscles twitching.
I love it, but I'm telling you, it's powerful. So I keep it on the, and you don't need it much. And that's the other thing too, is that this doesn't take much time. There are some devices out there that require a lot of time, and this doesn't. So what I heard a lot of people say, especially even like a year and a half ago, is that, those at-home devices don't work. They're just a gimmick. And while I will say that I have had my fair share of at-home devices through the years that were crap, and but what I can say is that my skin, again, has never looked better, and I have not been to, going to a spa with expensive treatments. Not to say that they aren't great, like I said, and not that I won't ever do them. But what I am saying is that I think there's something that's more powerful. It's one thing to go and get a treatment in the spa and you can get a great result. But it's usually like one treatment, or maybe it's 4 treatments, a series, and that's it. But it's, you know, it's also maybe at a much higher level, like the power level of the laser or of the frequency. I understand that. But here's what I believe. I believe from my experience is that although an at-home device may not be as strong as an in device, depending on what the, you know, modality is, when you are doing something consistently, and that's the key, consistently on a regular basis, I believe over time, you're going to get a better result.
Yeah.
At least as good as, if not better. So maybe it's a little low grade, but you're also like a one-time price of, you know, what are these? I don't know what these run right now, but let's say one price is, you know, less than, you know, a lot less than one treatment of something in the office. Exactly. So to have, you know, so to have the consistent over time. And I think that's the biggest, I believe, and you probably know this more than I do, being, you know, in the business on the brand side of things, is that you probably have people say, oh, I tried that, it doesn't work. I all the time. Did you use it? How often?
We get this all the time.
Did you use it? You know, and that's the most, it only works if you use it.
Yeah, and I'm so happy that you mentioned that over time, being consistent, you're going to see more results with an at-home device compared to going in clinic. Of course, that one treatment or 2 or 4 treatment, depending on what type of treatment you're doing, you're going to get like instant result. But also, it also comes with a cooling downside that probably you need to kind of just like rest for a bit until your skin is kind of rejuvenated. With at-home devices, you are more consistent. You're going to be using the device. For some devices in the market, you need to use them every day, 30 minutes. It depends on your schedule and how much you can integrate such device. With the EvenSkyn Lumo, you have 25 minutes per week. So you can do this 1 time up to 2 times a week, depending on also which age range you are.
Under 40, you know, you only have to do it once a week.
Exactly, which is super easy to integrate. But if you're consistent, how our skin, we're constantly, with the radio frequency, we're constantly asking our skin, okay, produce more collagen, produce more collagen, produce more collagen. So we're kind of all the time having that glowing, healthy aging process with the help of radio frequency and the EMS, which helps tone the muscles. When we go in a clinic, which is super amazing, sometimes people do a combination of in-clinic treatments. Like you're going to have like one big push of from a treatment. Usually it's a radio frequency with in combination with microneedling. Then for maintenance, you're going to use something like a radio frequency that is at home. The Lumo just combines a bunch of technologies, which is super amazing for people that are kind of tight on schedule, or they are not used to having thousands of devices and skincare processes that are like, okay, I need to do this, I need to do that. But you mentioned you kind of are multitasking. You're listening to a podcast, you're doing something else while you're doing the treatment, which is super amazing, because you also mentioned that you're doing red light therapy. And red light therapy in combination with the radio frequency is just like a super amazing. You do the radio frequency, then the red light is just going to help soothe and help the healing process. And then this way you're going to have even faster and more results.
You know, I was talking to, when I got into my gal that does my injectable or my Botox, I was always telling her, because every time I'd go in, she's like, Vanessa, what are you doing to your skin? Because she does, that's all she doesn't do anything else on me except for the Botox. She's like, what are you doing? Your skin looks amazing. Like every time I come in, and I would tell her about these. And I think, you know, she was a little bit kind of, but then as time's gone on, I mentioned to her about the radio frequency, and she actually says that, she goes, you know, there's some of the treatments that they do, some of their injectables that they do, other products, actually radio frequency helps that. Some things you're not, but some of them benefits, like, that are beneficial for whatever the, you know, depending on what the modality is. So it's a nice adjuvant to have. Like I said, I think it's great if you can have the money to go there and do something fancy. That's fantastic. But I'm, you know, you mentioned, I think kind of in our notes about like what I hope for the future.
Yes.
With I believe that, you know, again, what I have found is that these devices, these at-home devices, are getting better and better, and the technology is getting so much better. And so I believe that there really is more of an at-home approach, which is exciting me. Very exciting, especially, I think that I'll also hear women say, and again, we all have our price points of what, it's like what maybe is expensive for me is nothing for someone else, or things that I do. People are like, I could never afford that. But I really do implore, again, you make it not buying a bunch of things, but especially if you're on a tight budget, is that the investment in a device with the mindset, again, that, okay, I'm going to actually use this every, and for 6 months, that cost, again, let's say it was $500 for something, you'd be hard pressed to go get anything that's of value that's at the same level, certainly not for long term, that you'd pay for treatment
100%
at a salon.
Yeah.
And then, you know what else? Here's something else that I believe. I'm all about self-care and self-love. And there is something so beautiful about taking time for ourselves. And what skincare, my daughters, I have 3 daughters, my 2 younger daughters, they're just as much skincare obsessed as I am. They love it. They said their favorite time of the day is skincare. They love the skincare. So that's why I like, although I have all these little toys and things that I get to play with, and I feel very grateful that I have those, but there's something, it's more powerful. It's the time when you're using them. It's kind of like that, going back to the, I love you, Grace, that you're loving on your skin. You're saying, and this is your largest organ. It is your largest organ. So taking that time with, with the beauty routine, and you can do high level, you can do even like the gua sha. There's a lot of modalities from every range, that are all beautiful options, especially if you're just kind of tiptoeing into the space. You're like, I don't even know where to start. There's so different levels, and that's beautiful. But ultimately, it's the, also when you're doing it, I believe the mindset's so important. Again, when I'm doing it, I'm doing this because, again, I'm saying, like, I love you, skin. It's that nourishing the soul as much as I can while I'm doing the treatments.
Exactly. And it's not just about the skin. It is your approach to your self-care, and like just cooling down and reflecting on everything about you. But it's mainly because like you're in front of the mirror usually when you're doing your skincare. So you see yourself, you see the reflection, and it's like, okay, right now. And usually like all of the serums, it's just going to give that shimmery and glow look. It's just like all the time you have this positive view of yourself, and all the time you can also, sometimes you need to remind yourself, because you can just like do the serum and just go to bed or something.
And it does.
But I usually
when I've done that, when I'm in a rush, I don't like it. It doesn't feel good. Not nearly as good as when it. And the other thing is too, especially because I don't have a love partner in my life, is that, and even people that do, there are also there's a lot of lonely people out there. And we miss touch, and we need touch, and so by doing these treatments, we are loving ourselves. We're getting that touch, the things that we aren't getting from, maybe from other people. That's so important. So it is, so there's so much more than just the beautiful skin. But I would be remiss to say that it's just, skincare is profoundly important, but so is diet and lifestyle. So to say that you're gonna, although there are men and women out there that eat a heinous standard American diet that have nice skin, usually it catches up with you. And I can say that, when it all goes back to the self-love and, the inner peace, and working on everything starts from within. Everything starts from within. And when I initially changed my diet, I was plant-based for about 15 years. And I remember when I took about 2 years into that plant-based lifestyle, and I was teaching it, I had this aha moment. I said, oh my gosh, for the first time in my life, I've tasted self-worth, and it's at the end of my fork. Mm-hmm. And what that is, when I cared enough about what I put into my body, everything changed. My relationships, my outlook on life, my depression lifted. I became a better mother, a better leader in my life. There was no longer being incongruent. It's like someone saying that, saying one thing in the front, and then they go in the back room and they're smoking and drinking. It's an inauthentic, inhonest. When you start feeding yourself with love and nourishing, and make care and choices about what you're putting in your body, it is profound. And let me just tell you, that was probably the biggest change in positive in my skin prior to doing any kind of skincare treatment. Was that first initial was eating a lot more whole foods, plant-based, clean, making better choices, not eating, you know, trying to cut out as much as possible the processed food. That plays a huge role.
Yeah.
So is it a full-time job? Yep. If you want to look and feel your best, it is. Are you worth it? Yes. And if you don't, you know, if you say, well, I can't do that, okay, it's not important to you. It's not important to you. And I say that with love, and it's not always easy, because I mean, I've got my own Achilles heel on things that are, you know, it's just like exercise is super important too, finding the ways that work for you, and stress management. Stress is so bad that if you don't manage the stress, you might as well eat the candy bar, because that stress creates more, you know, more toxins in the body, and you know, free radicals than the candy bar when you're at that high level of stress. So all of it, but this is where it comes in to be such a beautiful thing. As we're aging, that when I said that I was really starting to settle into the aging process, what happens, at least with me, with menopause, that's kind of a turning point, is that you have to have radical self-care. You have to start really, at least for me and many women that I know, push away all the outside noise and start really making a lot more time for yourself, because your body is changing so rapidly that if you don't, it's a train wreck.
Mm-hmm.
It's a train. So that means like this, the changing our diet, you know, finding more alone time, journaling, you know, finding ways to move your body, taking care of your skin, take all of those things. It's to me, it's like changing everything you've ever done, unless you've already done all those things. And I had done a lot of them, but it's beautiful, because as we get older, we generally have more time to make space to do that.
Yeah.
But to the ones out there, the young ones, is start it now.
Yeah.
You don't have to do so much when the hits the fan, when you're woo.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful, it sounds like it's not freeing, but what I can tell you is, what I learned is that when there are some rules and habits and commitments to ourselves, you become more free. You aren't stifled. There's a freedom, again, in letting go, and there's a freedom in loving yourself to such a degree that you're going to take care of yourself at the highest level you can.
Yeah, and this shows that it's not just about the skincare product you're using or the skincare devices you're using. It has to do with way much more factors. It has to do with your sleep, how much you're meditating and kind of just relaxing from all the stresses, because you're going to be exposed to stress no matter what. You're going to be handling, you just try to find the balance and try to manage the stress that you are exposed to. So having a good sleep, having a good diet. And once you get informed and you get into the rhythm, it's not that hard to keep up, because then you are making informed decision. But when you're just like, I just want to go on a diet, I don't want to eat sugar, I don't want to do that, and you don't have an information what it does to you, one day you're just like, that cake, I'm gonna have that cake, because it's like you're in the moment and you want to enjoy it, which is super fine. But when you make an informed decision, that just totally changes, because when you are off sugar or anything, when you have a sugar once in a while, it's going to be okay, because the next day probably you're fasting, the next day probably you're
I fast.
Me too.
I fast every single day. I do an intermittent fast.
Me too. And it changed my lifestyle. I just like don't have that brain fog anymore as much as I used to.
Yeah.
And that,
you know what, I actually started taking something about a couple of months ago, and I absolutely love it. I've been intermittent fasting for, oh gosh, 6 years now almost. Anyway, I started taking Mimeo, which is the world's first biomimetic fasting supplement. Amazing, especially for those people who say, oh, I can't go without eating, or I feel it just curbs the appetite, lifts the spirits. I mean, it has a component to make a feel good, all natural. It's basically the four components, the four molecules that were most profound in the study that this doctor that invented it, or scientist who's amazing. And that what four of the top mechanisms that happen when we're at a 36-hour fast are in this capsule. So you take it and you can, I mean, your hunger goes down, all of that. But what happens is all the things that happen when you do a 36-hour fast, all the beautiful things inside the body, this happens when you eat. So you take the capsule and then you take your first meal, even though you're eating, but your body goes into that fasting state and does all the stuff on the inside. So yeah, I'm a huge proponent of that.
Yeah.
And sleep.
Was that
oh
Mimeo?
yeah. I want to show you the container because it is amazing.
Yeah, we're getting questions. Can you list those products as well?
Yeah.
And how do you spell it? Yeah.
You go to my link tree, it's in there. I did a live with the founder, Dr. Chris Rose. So I have a live on my page. You can see it. And then also I've got a link in my bio. I love it. Literally, it's just 2 capsules a day. My daughter takes it. I take it. It's just, to me, a game changer for your health, for your heart. If anyone has questions, you can DM me. But definitely those are a must. The fasting, the sleep hygiene. We could do a whole session on sleep hygiene. I've got like all the tricks and tips and that I do. And yes, it is a full-time job. I just found out that I have I have 2 tongue ties which is this whole other journey that I'm doing right now. And I just met with a myofunctional therapist. We're doing like 4 months of therapy before I can get the surgery to untie it. I've had lifelong chronic pain, neck, shoulders, TMJ, all of this. And anyway, so I'm starting to do that. And I was telling my myofunctional doctor, I said, or therapist, I said, gosh, it's so crazy. I have all these contraptions. I have mouth tape. I wear, earplugs, and I sleep with a mask, and I've got dark room, and I've got like a sleep member 8-bed thing, and a weighted blanket. And she's like laughing at me. She says her same thing. Her husband's like, do you need all that? She's like, yes, if you want to sleep. I mean, it's crazy. As we get older, but you do what you got to do.
You do what you got to do. Exactly.
And it's my routine. Oh my gosh. You don't realize how much stuff it takes to like keep you at your best until you travel. And last week I was in California for a week with my daughter and their boyfriends, and packing took me hours. Even though I didn't take that much, but it's like, you don't realize all the things. I'm like, all the little things, as I've gotten older, like I've got all my supplement things, and not to scare anyone, but like I said, I'm living my best life and I'm loving it. But I'm also like, I'm a biohacker. I'm like, all these things I can do, to make me feel better. I'm all in.
And it takes a lot of research just to kind of make a decision what you need to use. So thank you so much for sharing this, because I also read a comment earlier that can you list the products that you're using that actually work for you? And I think it was during the discussion we had about devices and also skincare. But I also, you talk about many of those things on your own channel. So for anyone, you can please check Silver Liberation as a handle, and you will find Vanessa's content. There's so much you can learn out there.
I'm happy to answer. You guys can always DM me, send me a message. Anything I can do. I am an open book when it comes to sharing advice or directing you to something or a product. I'm happy to do that.
Because the struggle. Yeah. How hard it is and how much time it takes to kind of just research and make the right decision, because you're bombarded with so much content and with so much products, which is amazing. Sometimes we just love shopping for products that are good, but when we really need to kind of do our research and just figure out if this is something right for us or not.
I 100% agree. But I mean, like I said, you can't go wrong. I mean, there's so many beautiful products out there. And I know with EvenSkyn, you guys have a year warranty on your product. You have, is it like a 2-month, is it 60-day?
60-day money back guarantee.
Which is really, really great, because honestly, I think, a month of consistent use, even then you're going to notice,
if it's something for you or not. Exactly. You're at least going to find out if it fits into your schedule, because sometimes you're just like motivated. You're like, okay, I want to do this, but it's a $500 device, even though like in moments like this, you can get it with the discount code in a much better price, which right now during November, it's the best month to kind of make those deals. But
holidays, I'm like, in fact, I've been making my list of all the things. Like I want this, there's a sound bed that's like a massage thing that's for meditating. That's on my Christmas list. I'm looking at everything what's going to go on sale.
Exactly.
And beauty device, amazing. Best time to buy.
Yeah. So definitely and every device has a 1-year warranty with EvenSkyn. And if you have anything like a malfunction or you need anything additional, you can of course all the time reach us at EvenSkyn handle or email anywhere, and one of us would be able to just support any user, or if you have a question before purchasing a device. And it's not just the EvenSkyn, all the EvenSkyn community everyone is super supportive. So if you're in the midst of, do I need this, do I need that, can I use this, I have the skin condition, you'll be able to find such information and make an informed decision. But wow, oh my god, we love talking about this, we love talking about beauty, we love talking about skincare all day long.
This is so much fun. I love it. I do.
Me too.
I'm like, I love being a girl. I love being a girl. I just love it. Not that, you know, men should take care of their skin too. And it's very important. In fact, we always get my daughter's boyfriends whenever they're here, let's do a mask. We do, they do face masks. They do all kinds of fun stuff. But there's nothing like, to me, that's the beauty of a woman. It's like, we're soft, we're sensual, we're lovely beings. And to be able to care for ourselves is just such a delight. I love it. You know, I really do.
I 100% agree with you. And thank you so much for being here with me, sharing all this information, being emotional and vulnerable in front of all of us, which is the most empowering and inspiring thing that anyone could do. So thank you so much for doing this. And I would love to have a part 2. I would love to discuss even more about it, everything else. So let's do that.
Right. We can just delve into the you know, the other there's so many other topics I want to talk about. So we'll do a part 2 maybe in the new year, and maybe new year, new you. We can do. I'd love.
Sounds like a plan. But thank you so much, everyone else here, for joining. We didn't really have the chance to go through much of the comments, but I'm gonna take a look, collect the comments, and we can tackle everything else on a part 2 live video. But yeah, thank you everyone for joining, and thank you, Vanessa, for sharing all of this your journey with us.
Beautiful, beautiful holiday, and it's our Thanksgiving week. I don't know if you're not in this. Are you in the States?
No, I'm in Europe.
In Europe, yeah. So our Thanksgiving this week.
I know.
So excited. My daughter, my middle daughter's coming home from college, so I'm super excited to see her and her new boyfriend. So it'll be fun.
Enjoy the time together. This is the most wonderful time. So yeah, everyone enjoy, and yeah, we'll see you soon.
Sounds good.
All right.
Okay.
Bye everyone. Thank you so much.